Hello and welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I am here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Wonderful and beautiful wave for you guys. Happy Friday. Welcome to LEAH and our first arrivals, of course. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And we have packed night. Holy cow. We have child labor laws being rolled back. I have to do a fascist Florida update because our last fortnight I covered Florida. Well, you wouldn't think more could happen, but that's what you get for thinking. So I'm going to do just a quick update. It won't be a whole topic. And then we have the Holy Massacre Friday by Mac. Yes, Mac?
I have I was just going to say that Florida should probably change their state motto to "It all happens in Florida."
Yeah, fashy flow.
Just pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Good, bad, neither.
What was the 10 school commandments, because that's literally a thing that's happening. Although by the same people who say do not indoctrinate our kids, educate, not indoctrination. However, we're going to put the specific religion's version of 10 commandments in all of your schools. It's not indoctrination.
It's fine. It's good.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. How are you, Mr. Mac?
I am doing well, at least well enough. I'm a little tired, but I have a glass of wine, and I got my bestie here, and we have Nacho Witness behind the scenes. So
this is a shot of vodka. It's actually like a shot and a half, but I put a lid on it because I had to walk with it, and I'm just super clumsy. And I tried to take a shot right before the show, and I plugged my nose, and then I took a swallow, and then the rest had to come out of my mouth in the sink. I couldn't do it. I was like, dang it, you suck. I think that's called alcohol abuse. I'm not sure. But so I poured one, put a lid on it, and thought, I'll have to do it without doing, there's no sink to get rid of it. So I have to woman up at some point.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared and confused about it. However, I think we could do it, because if not, I have my medicine.
Yeah, that'll do you.
It's a mustache medicine.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't help if you use it as a mustache, only if you consume it. So found that out the hard way.
Potatoes.
Yeah, tomato. Okay, Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean wants to say hi right before we jump in. He wants to say, if it wasn't for our very own Lord and Savior, not your witness, none of this would be possible. And we thank him from the bottom of our hearts. I just love him so much. And I also wanted to add that I definitely look forward to doing this with you guys. And it's just love you guys. Love you guys, love you guys. My boys, my two boys. I love them so much. My him boys. Yeah. Hymns. Don't wait, you sing those in church. Hymns. In the South, you sing the hymns.
Yeah.
We're gonna dive right in, guys. Let me actually checking on the chat, and we have oh yes, okay. It's me. Straight shot. I prefer my shots gay. Right? If it was a little bit more queerish, happyish, gayish, maybe I wouldn't have to be like, I can do this. No, I can't. So all right.
Just need to add Skittles to your vodka.
Skittles. Okay, so I'm hip and I'm a hip hop kid. So if you're drinking your scissor, your Sprite, your dirty Sprite, I knew many grown-ass true thugs that would literally put Skittles in theirs. So
yeah,
sipping on the scissor Skittle styles, and they definitely tasted the rainbows those nights. So
drink the rainbow.
Thank the rainbow, taste the rainbow. That's what we're calling it. We're gonna jump right in to sorry, I feel like my eye is being invaded. Colonizers. We are jumping right into the wonderful topic of child labor. And I did more than 2 weeks on this. I've been following this for, I feel like, the last 3 months, since it really started making not just headlines mainstream. That wasn't happening, but in The Lever, I love reading The Lever, and a few other okay, there's many that I read, but a few other that I definitely know going into it. I don't have to fact check these, even though I'll pick a few claims and just do it because it's better for me and I always learn more. But this particular article is coming from Vice, and it's important that it comes first. You'll see why. And who am I without my eyeballs?
You're just another without eyeballs.
Smarter already. Okay, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, you guys. She is one of these.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, she's one of them leading the charge, if you will, on reversing 100 years of child protections under our child labor laws. Several Republican-controlled states are currently considering weakening child labor laws, including a bill in Arkansas that will allow children as young as 14 to work without obtaining permission from anyone, their parents, the state, anyone. The move comes as national outrage.
Kids don't even need parents these days. Sorry.
Just emancipate them all Trump can do it, just like he made all of them declassified. He can just think about it, and that's what's happening. So
yeah
makes plenty of not sense. Okay, so the move comes as national outrage unfolds over the increasing use of child labor to work dangerous jobs in the country, and the Biden administration vows a crackdown on the problem. However, we have found that these child labor laws in these particular locations have been going on since 2019. So last week, state legislators, it does say last week, but I do want to give you, this is from March 6th, 2023, and it is important. So when it says last week, it means, months ago. Not that long though, just a few weeks. Last week, legislators in Arkansas passed a bill that would eliminate a requirement for children under the age of 16 to obtain a permit in order to work. Currently, companies in Arkansas that want to employ 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds are required to obtain a permit showing proof of age. They have written permission from a parent or guardian is another thing, and then they have to provide a description of the work and the work schedule. The bill, the Youth Hiring Act of 2023, would weaken the state's oversight of child labor laws by eliminating this need for these permits altogether. Quote, there is no reason that anyone should have to get a government's permission to get a job, bill sponsor Senator Clint Penzo said last week, according to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Yes, I read that correctly. The bill's purpose is to restore decision-making to parents concerning their children and streamline the hiring process for children under the age of 16, according to this new legislation. It's worth noting that Arkansas has banned parents from making healthcare decisions for their own children. However, in the interest of their children, they did that. And in the same interest of these children, they are rolling back legislation, laws that protect them. Other Republican-led states are currently considering legislation to change labor laws as well, including Iowa and Ohio. Oh, I almost said that wrong. Iowa and Ohio. Iowa's bill would allow minors as young as 15 to serve alcohol. Okay, when I was 18 and serving alcohol, I got my butt grabbed, I got propositioned, I had happening. And I was 18.
You say that like it's a bad thing, but when I was 15, I wanted my butt grabbed.
Right.
And then I got my butt grabbed like a year ago, and it was not nice.
Yeah, not by old gross men who see you as just, like, why are you upset? Like, that's what you're, so
that's what you're there for. I'll give you that tip.
Exactly. A 15-year-old being able to serve alcohol, you're putting minors in position of adults who are drunk. I'm not okay with any of
hold on. Let me just play devil's advocate here real quick. Look,
time's up.
There's a lot going on in our country. But one of the things that I think really is best to focus on is that teenagers can't get a job quick enough. This is how we think our nation. Adults. Look, I know these states are looking at getting teenagers into kind of dangerous jobs, and teenagers are children, but what are we going to do? Like, our adults, especially our men, they're getting real soft.
Especially the white straight men. I'm feeling that's where this is going.
So, I mean, the best thing we can do for our nation is make our kids harder, which is what most Republicans say. And
and priests apparently. So let's see. So the 15-year-olds to serve alcohol and allow 14-year-old children to work in industrial freezers and meat coolers. Ohio's bill would allow minors to work year-round, not just in summers, until 9 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. as the protections in the child labor laws had demanded. Well, it's pretty sick. The Arkansas Senate, which is controlled by Republicans, along with the State House and Governor's Mansion, it's a trifecta of fascism over there, passed the bill 24-9 Thursday. This was weeks ago. The State House passed the bill last month by a similarly comfortable margin as well. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the one-time press secretary for former President Donald Trump, who was elected to the governorship last year, indicated last week that she would sign the bill. Of course she would. The governor believes protecting kids is the most important. Then she follows that statement that should have just ended right there with, but doing so with arbitrary burdens on parents and kids to get permission from the government, because of course in their mind the government's bad, not even thinking that they themselves are working in the government. Whatever. permission from the government for their child to get a job is burdensome and obsolete, a spokesperson told the Democrat Gazette. Yes, Mac.
Undue burden on parents. Hold on. I just wanted to point out, facetiously or not, that, you know what, parents do have a lot to deal with, because like the kids have to go to school so the parents can go to work, and it costs a lot to feed kids. So like, we shouldn't have free lunches. That'd be a handout, but we can pay for lunches at schools, and then after school, because parents have to work overtime to make rent, we should just send the kids to work, because I mean, schools can't keep them all day. And anyways, if you work at Subway, you get half off a 6-inch sub for working like a 6-hour shift. So I mean, basically the kids can feed themselves.
Subway's the least of our worries here.
Right. I mean, just any fast food restaurant. And I mean, I do want to make it clear, though, we did cover this a few weeks ago. I think you might have been off. But I mean, a lot of these Republican politicians, and not only Republican politicians, I'm sure that Joe Manchin gets a cut of this. The restaurant lobby, fast food restaurant lobby, is very strong. They're the ones pushing for this the most.
Yeah, we're getting.
Yeah, I can see it in my own town, and there's so many people in my community who work higher end jobs than these fast food restaurants or just regular restaurants, right? They're so frustrated because no one wants to work anymore. No one wants to work in these shitty restaurants anymore. I'm just like, I'm sorry, aren't you the same fuckers that just said, you know, if kids just learn how to go make their own food. By the way, I want someone to make me a cheeseburger for $1.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, go fuck yourselves.
No,
honestly, if you have
like
that mentality.
McDonald's has signs now hiring 14 and 15-year-olds. All shifts, $10. Right, but that's the same that they're offering anyone. That's why you can't fill these positions. No one can live on that. Right. No one.
And this is kind of hilarious, I think, in a not so funny kind of way. Though I say that a lot. It's the fact that when you talk to someone who doesn't really cover politics and economics, right? When you talk to a normie about restaurant jobs, right? And when you're talking about raising the minimum wage, this is where it always comes up, is fast food jobs. When you're talking about raising the minimum wage, they say, well, do you think that a McDonald's worker should make as much as a factory worker? And you don't go into details which restaurant and which factory. The fuck out. But it always comes back down to, well, those jobs, meaning the restaurant jobs usually, are for people just getting into the workplace. I'm like, that's funny, because half the people I see working in a fast food restaurant are young people. The other half are older people. Like, it's very, very low percentage, filling in the blank there of my 50-50 that I said. 40-40, we'll say. It's only like 20% of the people that are anywhere in the middle. And it's just, I don't know if they're making our point for us or if they're trying to unmake a point or remake a point. Point is, these are entry-level jobs. But even if you treat it like an entry-level job, you should pay them a minimum wage that is livable. So not minimum, livable. Livable. Well, the minimum wage should be a livable wage. Right, but $7.25 is not. No, not that. Yeah, absolutely not. And then they always skip the part of the conversation of just like, what about the people who aren't entry-level age workers, but still work at these jobs? Because someone has to fucking fill it in, right?
I agree.
I mean, there's just so much to talk about there, but I'm sorry. It's
yeah, I have like a lot.
yeah, there's gonna be a lot of back and forth this episode.
No,
Sorry.
this one, no, it's fine. This is a topic. Just didn't have a word that's guttural sounds. So Arkansas, Ohio, and Iowa's attempts to cut regulations is happening alongside a massive uptick in child labor over the past several years, as well as increased scrutiny after several high-profile cases. The federal government fined a sanitation company privately owned by Blackstone, of course, last month for employing more than 100 minors to clean slaughterhouses overnight. That means they're coming in at like 10 at night and leaving at 7 in the morning. 10 of those children were working at Tyson Foods and George's Inc. These are plants in Arkansas, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. And after a New York Times investigation alleged that migrant child labor runs rampant throughout the supply chain of many of those recognizable U.S. brands, the Biden administration said last week it would more aggressively investigate child labor and called for congressional action to increase penalties on companies that violate child labors. Let me tell you, Hy-Vee, the grocery store in Iowa, one of the biggest employers, pays anywhere between $700,000 and $800,000 in fines for child labor and wrongdoings every single year. And think about this: the highest a corporation or company could get fined for employing a child is a little over 15,000. So how many 15, I'm sorry, yeah, 15,000. How many 15,000s does it take to reach, almost 1 million? So that's how bad this is. Since 2018, illegal employment of children has increased 69%, the Department of Labor said this February. In Arkansas, just 3 Republicans joined the chamber's 6 Democrats to oppose the bill. Republican Senator Mark Johnson, one of the 3 Republicans, called a work permit one more little safeguard that maybe we should leave in place. I encourage 14 and 15-year-olds to have initiative and seek employment, Johnson told the Arkansas Advocate, a local nonprofit news outlet. I certainly think the parents need to know about it, though. Right. Where's your 14-year-old? Even the leader of the top business lobbying group in the state said he opposed this archaic bill. Quote, "We just think this is a solution looking for a problem," Randy Zook, the CEO of Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce, told Arkansas Business last week. The primary thing that kids that age need to be focused on is education and graduating from school and hopefully going on to college. We are afraid this will encourage kids who are already stressed out about home finances, who are under 16, to pursue more work time. And most of the time, if you're working till 7 a.m., you're going to fall behind in school. And then at some point, is it too much to make up knowing you have to work all these hours? Right. And who was it again who said, I love the poorly educated? Well, yeah, the leader of the MAGA party. So that's a very important one. The vice one, I cannot tell you how important that one is. And then we have, oh goodness, let's see. And, oh, okay. So this one, it is important, but it is not as important for this one. We'll just skip that one since it'll take forever. All right. I will link it underneath though, so everyone can read all of these. Workers are funding private equities child labor exploitation. Public employees' retirement savings are funding the private equity takeover of companies that use child labor in dangerous factories. Last month, the Biden, I do want to give you the date on this one. This is March 10th of this year, a couple weeks ago. Last month, the Biden administration announced it fined a company for employing more than 100 children to clean gross, bloody meat packing plants, also the dangerous equipment and dangerous chemicals, and its all-night job. One of the most dangerous jobs actually possible for one of the most dangerous employers in America because of limbs being severed, fingers being severed, and death. The company, a sanitation contractor called Packer Sanitation Services, PSSI, has been repeatedly bought and sold by private equity funds, and it's normally bought for around $1 billion or $1 billion something dollars. So you know you're going to make money. That's why they do this. These private equity funds that manage retirement people that are saving for their retirement, their money, they manage it for state and local public employees, according to a Lever review. That's what they're playing around with. In other words, public officials have been using the retirement savings of unionized teachers, firefighters, and police officers to capitalize and help Wall Street executives profit from an outsourcing business that has used low-paid immigrants and children for hazard work and slaughterhouses and auto factories, plants where they're making them. At various points, private equity firms have loaded Packers up with debt in order to pay themselves big dividends. The company's current owner is the world's largest private equity firm, the Blackstone Group, whose Republican Megan donor CEO collected $1.3 billion in pay and dividends last year. What's more, the New York Times recently reported on a factory filled with young migrant workers at a giant food contract manufacturer that outsourced production of major snack and cereal brands. General Mills, by the way. That company, Heartside Food Solutions, has also been owned by private equity funds managing public employees' retirement fundings as well. This is just the thing that they do. And if things went south, all of those retirement, you guys already know. Such stories are especially dark examples of what can happen when pension officials put public employees' retirement savings into opaque private equity investments. Workers' own money often gets used to finance the war on workers, union busting, funding schemes to drive up housing costs, inflate healthcare, inflate bills, and keep wages low. In this case, the money has helped private equity executives enrich themselves through vulnerable workers risking life and limb, undermining a century's worth of efforts in the United States to prevent our children from working in these dangerous factory jobs. These revelations are part of a broader trend, though. Child labor violations are rising surprisingly and sharply in the U.S., including in hazardous industries, according to the Department of Labor. Republican lawmakers in several states are moving to lax child labor laws in order to help these same employers who are funding their campaigns and donating to them find more workers in a time of historically low unemployment, the most unemployment we've seen ever for many of our marginalized groups. Private equity firms need to be more proactive and be more serious about labor conditions in the companies they own, said Justin Flores, a senior campaign and research coordinator at the Private Equity Stakeholder Project, a financial industry watchdog group. And for the pension funds that are investing in these private equity funds, we think they also need to be more involved and more active in understanding and knowing what they're investigating and in what management is doing at those companies. This is a corporate-wide failure, you guys. This Packer Sanitation Services Inc. is PSSI, says it was founded in 1970 based on a vision of providing contract sanitation services using non-union workforce. The Wisconsin-based company has about 16,500 employees. Many Packers employees work the graveyard shift cleaning meat packing plants for major food conglomerates. It's a harrowing job for adults. That's one that is often performed by undocumented immigrants and unaccompanied minors. As a 2017 Business Week story found, that Packers topped the list of the most dangerous employers in the United States of America, based on its rate of dismemberment and other severe workplace injuries, including death. Last month, the Labor Department announced that Packers paid $1.5 million in fines. Remember, 15,000 is the highest per kid? Yeah, $1.5 million in fines, a paltry sum for a company that reportedly made $460 million in 2021. After an investigation found the company had employed at least 102 children on overnight sanitation crews at 13 meat processing facilities over 8 states, including those owned by industry giants JBS, Cargill, and Tyson Foods. According to news reports, children as young as 13 are using dangerous chemicals to clean back saws, head splinters, fat skinners, and blood-soaked floors. And that is from the NBC news reported that the kids were largely undocumented, unaccompanied minors who were told that they don't have a choice because they have rent, they have food, they have clothes, and all this needs to be paid for by them. The child labor violations in this case were systematic and reached across 8 states and clearly indicated a corporate-wide failure by Packer Sanitation Services at all levels. The Labor Department has called on Congress to increase fines for child labor violations, noting that the current maximum penalty of just over $15,000 per child is not high enough when they have no problem paying these nearly $1 million or over $1 million fines, because they put that into their for the year. They know that if they have to pay these fines, they made more than the fine. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not okay. It is not high enough to be a deterrent for these major profitable companies. A Blackstone spokesperson told The Lever in a statement that Packers has, quote, has an absolute zero tolerance policy against employing anyone under the age of 18 and is fully committed to ensuring it is enforced at all their plants, adding that the company, quote, has continued to enhance its already extensive procedures to prevent identity theft, including recent steps to conduct multiple additional audits and training and hire further third-party compliance experts, or they could just stop hiring children. A Packers spokesperson said that none of the underage workers, remember before they said that they had nothing to do with it, then they go on to say, none of the underage workers identified by the Labor Department currently work for the company, and that many of them left Packers multiple years ago. Completely not true. Not true at all. She continued, as a parent and a citizen, I don't want a single person under 18 working for Packers, period, and take extensive steps to prevent individuals at the local level from circumventing our wide-ranging procedures.
Prove it.
Right, prove it. Capitalizing on pressure on businesses to outsource. Packers has gone through 4 private equity acquisitions since 2007. Those transactions all appear to have involved funds backed by public pension dollars, once again, according to The Lever and financial documents. While investors in private equity funds can't know exactly how private equity funds will deploy their money, officials at the Pennsylvania Public School knew when they invested with Blue Point Capital Partners that the Ohio-based private equity firm could target outsourcing companies. So at a meatpacking facility, they outsourced the cleaners to come in at night so they can say, we didn't do it. Hands are clean. A March 2007 report from them recommended that the Blue Point Capital Partners too said that the firm's criteria for portfolio companies, including, quote, outsourcing and consolidating trends. Blue Point will continue to seek investments in companies that are in a market position to capitalize on the general pressure on businesses to outsource non-core operations or consolidate suppliers. Official wrote, noting the firm had invested in the industrial outsourcing and specialty chemicals sector. These are what these kids are working with. The same board soon committed to invest up to $100 million in a side fund to Blue Point Capital Partners II. 1 month later, Blue Point Capital Partners II acquired Packers for a reported $90 million. Other investors in the Blue Point Fund included retirement systems in Ohio and Boston. In 2011, Blue Point sold Packers to Harvest Partners, a private equity firm, for $540 million. The purchase was made by Harvest Partners 5, a fund whose investors included state retirement systems in North Carolina and Kentucky. In 2014, Packers was sold for $1 billion in part of Leonard Green and Partners. The Leonard Green Fund involved green equity investors, received investments from more than 24 state and local public pension funds, according to the financial data service Preqin. The fund's investors included state requirement systems in Alaska, Illinois, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, Ohio, South Carolina, Texas, and Washington State. Blackstone, based in New York, purchased Packers in 2018 at an undisclosed price. According to Wall Street Journal, Blackstone acquired Packers using Blackstone Core Equity Partners. That Blackstone fund has received investments from state retirement systems in California, New York, and North Carolina. A spokesperson for the California State Teachers Retirement System, which invested $500 million. Now, how much do we need in schools and teachers? Okay, never mind. That $500 million with Blackstone Fund, and this is per the lever. We continually monitor our holdings, engage companies, and collaborate with general partners to monitor and address the risks in the portfolio and develop and implement action plans to mitigate any dangers. According to research from the Private Equity Stakeholder Project, Leonard Green and later Blackstone both loaded the Packers balance sheet with debt in order to pay themselves hundreds of millions of dollars in dividends. Our hearts break. The Packers story shares many similarities with the story of Hearthside Food Solutions, the company at the heart of a recent New York Times expose on young migrant workers laboring in dangerous factories. That story followed several children who entered the U.S. as unaccompanied minors and were placed with sponsors, only to end up working full-time at Hearthside factory in Michigan. The Labor Department is now investigating the company for potential child labor violations. What about the people who took these kids in, who told them they had to go work? Hearthside said in a statement that it was appalled by the Times article alleging that the industry is employing any underage individuals in unsafe conditions, and further suggests that some of these issues may be taking place at one of our locations. Our hearts break for the young people whose stories are documented in the article. Like Packers, Hearthside is built around the premise of helping companies outsource their labor. The company is the largest food contract manufacturer in the United States. Workers in its factories bake and package cereal and snacks for industry giants like General Mills, Quaker Oats, and Frito-Lay. Hearthside has a history of union busting and job listing for plant managers and directors. The company actively seeks out candidates with experience in non-union manufacturing, an environment to have union avoidance. Since 2009, this Hearthside has gone through a series of private equity transitions itself, and at least some which involved funds supported by public employees' retirement funds. The first private equity buyer was WindPoint Partners based in Chicago, with the investment reportedly coming from WindPoint Partners, whatever. The fund investors have included state pension systems, Maryland, Michigan, Missouri, and Texas. Back in 2018, this Hearthside was acquired by Charles Bank Capital Partners based in Boston, and the Swiss, a foreign company, Swiss Firm Partners Group, for $2.4 billion. According to Prequin, one of the funds involved in the Charles Bake Equity Fund, state requirement systems in Florida, Michigan, Missouri, and Tennessee have invested in that Charles Bake Fund with those foreign Swiss. Experts say that public pension officials who oversee government workers' retirement savings have an opportunity and a responsibility to better police the behaviors of this private equity firms as they are financing these things. Pension funds have a lot of leverage. They have a lot of ability to shape how private equity works, said Flores of the Private Equity Stakeholder Project. If they take the high road approach and say, we don't want to be invested in the exploitation of workers or pricing people out of their homes or abusing tenants as slumlords and things like that, we think we'll see a change in behavior of this equity group. That just goes into the behind the child labor. I do have, I will be posting 3 educational short videos. I'm sorry, 2 educational short videos. One's 4 minutes, one's 5. And the other one is a pretty good 60 minutes, actually, from a month ago. So I will be putting those underneath. And then I will be posting 3 articles, Vice News, The Lever, and the NPR. They all have things that are so needed for everyone to grasp this. And I did want to add, from as a little history obsessed nerd, there's a quote, "This ancient atrocity." That's what Theodore Roosevelt called child labor, this ancient atrocity. And Theodore Roosevelt is way before our grandparents' time, let's just say. So that is child labor. I could go into individual kids. I could go into, there's so many of these children who come unaccompanied, who are put into these foster homes, not a particular single family home, homes, and then told that they have to work. They have to pay for the room and board, which is rent at age 13, 14, and 15. Are you kidding me? So that is that on that. I do, if you want to say anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, first, I mean, you killed it. That was a lot. That was a lot. It's just such a big topic, and I feel like even though you like covered so much with like a few different companies,
it was just the tip of one side of that iceberg.
Discuss the surface.
Right. A lot of these journalists found that in 2018 and 2019, they had these same children and unaccompanied minors doing this work. This is not something new. It's just children, teachers at a middle school were having their 7th and 8th graders have chemical burns on their hands, on their face, on their knee, and falling asleep in class. And so these teachers did what any teacher who cares about her students would do and ask why. And they're told, well, I work nights. So I leave here, I watch my brother and sister, I cook them dinner, I do a little bit of homework, and then I go to work until 7 in the morning, and then I come here. No. No. And those same states who are doing this the fastest are the same ones who will not take the expanded Medicare, will not take the expanded Medicaid, will not take the federal money for education. They will not take these things. If they did, those children would have extra nutrition, they would have health care, and they would have housing, because that's what a lot of this funding goes for. So they wouldn't have to work all night. It's
right.
Maddening. It's maddening. Yep. Yes. Very. Blah.
I don't like that we have an economy right now that incentivizes parents to let their kids work to help them pay for rent and bills. I think it's fine if kids want to start working at like 15, maybe
over the summer. Yeah.
16 years old, that's fine. You know, if they want to get a job and start learning how to deal with money and think about saving it or whatever they want to do with it, it's their money, right? I think that's fine. But I also like to tell young people that I engage with is like, hey, don't try to get a job too fast, because like once you're an adult, you got to keep doing that.
Yeah, you can never stop. And
Right.
your
Be
job
persistent.
is to gain knowledge. Your job is, I'm sorry, you have like a 10-hour full-time job, 5 days a week. That is
Mhm.
hard. Most adults couldn't wake up and go from subject to subject and try to learn all of it and then go home with anywhere from an hour to 4 hours of homework. They just
Right.
couldn't.
Right.
So
If you talk to anyone who like held a job through college, like that is incredibly impressive.
it
Like
is. Most of them
it's not
take,
the norm.
6 years to do 4 years or 4 years to do 2 years because they have to work or they wouldn't eat or have a place to live. And why
Yep.
would we do that to our children?
So McDonald's can make an extra couple bucks on each cheeseburger. Um,
Because they don't want to pay.
yeah.
And you heard that one corporation would only outsource to these cleaning that would come in at night to their packing facilities, cleaning companies that would come in at night to their automobile factories. They would only outsource to these corporations who refuse to let any union happening. Well, who's not going to try to unionize a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old? They're just not. They're struggling. Yeah, it pisses me off. All right, our next topic is an update on fascist Florida. A fortnight ago, we covered Florida, and I just think that so much has happened since then that it wouldn't be, doing my due diligence if I didn't let you know what is actually happening since then. It won't be a huge story like we just did, but it is just as important since your girl lives here. All right, this is actually from yesterday at noon. So it is a very, very new. It is by a site called Tallahassee Democrat. Kyle Kalinske likes to pull it up and use it. Right,
Yep.
it's good. It's good. I do want to say real quick that Jacksonville, a beautiful college town here in Florida. If you look at the red state of Florida, Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, and Miami are the only blue spots. Jacksonville has the very first Democrat mayor in over 3 decades. Over 3 decades, the guy who she beat was like a shoo-in. He raised 8.4 million. He had all of the big names fascists come and endorse him. He just knew it was going to be him. He didn't do anything, talk to people. He did mailers and TV commercials because he just knew he had it. Our homegirl, the girl on the other side, raised 2.1 million, mostly all small donations, and actually went door to door, talked to people, and she knocked him out the park and is the first female ever and the first Democrat in over 3 decades. So
Wow. Go her.
yes, go her. So okay, let's go. Fashy flow. Governor Ron DeSantis is expected to file his paperwork to run for president next week. He has been able to have his lawyers carve out the Florida Constitution to make it legal for him to run for president while he's holding the governor's position, which was illegal until he did that. DeSantis's campaign filing, according to multiple media reports, is timed to coincide with a fundraising blitz in South Florida, where he will gather top donors next week. While plans are fluid, his formal announcement will come the following week in Dunedin, which is not too far from here, or somewhere in the Tampa Bay area, which is here, where he grew up. Republicans familiar with the plan told USA Today. The Wall Street Journal first reported on the governor's presidential announcement plans. Losses for two candidates backed by DeSantis. One of them was at Jacksonville and another one was here in Florida. Yeah, hurts his ability to portray himself as a winner, as he has been. he won't answer. DeSantis knocks Trump's refusal to say if he backs the 6-week abortion ban, which he does, he just passed it.
Right.
DeSantis has been edging towards a presidential campaign for months. A federal political action committee supporting DeSantis, called Never Back Down, has been hiring campaign staff and running television ads. DeSantis traveled to Iowa, a key early voting state, over the weekend and rolled out lists of endorsements in recent days from leaders in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Florida. He heads to New Hampshire on Friday. Florida Senate President Kathleen Passidomo and House Speaker Paul Renner were among 99 lawmakers in DeSantis' home state who endorsed the governor this week, countering the 11 endorsements former President Donald Trump has among Florida's congressional delegation. The rivalry between Trump and DeSantis began heating up last year as it became clear a presidential primary matchup was looming. That should intensify later after DeSantis formally enters the race next week. Two political figures, two political speeches, two diverging brands, Trump versus DeSantis. During his trip to Iowa, DeSantis talked about rejecting the GOP's culture of losing, an implicit criticism of Trump and his influence over the GOP's electoral success over the last 3 election cycles. DeSantis is pitching himself as someone who can restore the wins and the winning mentality in the party after his blowout re-election win, which he gerrymandered the shit out of the state and he could only win. Trump seized on the fact that 2 DeSantis endorsed candidates lost this week in Kennedy's GOP gubernatorial primary and the Jacksonville mayor's race. Ron's magic is gone, Trump wrote on social media. The Trump campaign later sent out an email with the subject line, quote, Ron DeSanctimonious, a culture of losing. Regardless, DeSantis' dominating re-election win last year has positioned him as Trump's most formidable adversary. DeSantis won by 19 percentage points, a remarkable margin of victory in a state that has often been decided by a percentage point or less in recent years. The victory helped generate growing buzz for a DeSantis presidential run. Most polls early in the year showed DeSantis beating Trump in a head-to-head matchup, but lately, Trump has been well ahead in the GOP primary surveys. The Real Clear Politics average of national polls shows 56% of GOP voters back Trump, compared to 20% who still support DeSantis. There is still plenty of anticipation surrounding DeSantis' presidential announcement, though. He will be featured on the next cover of Time magazine. Time, what are you doing? With an article headline, What Ron DeSantis Means for America. He's, let's see, just peeling an orange. Just peeling an orange. DeSantis' conservative agenda and electoral success helped transform the image of Florida from the nation's largest swing purple state to a red state, and one that has served as an incubator for the new wave of GOP policies, particularly on education and culture war issues being the main thing. The Florida Democratic Party was at a historic low point after last year's election, but the Democratic victory in Jacksonville mayor's race Tuesday breathed new life into the party, and President Joe Biden's campaign manager said this week that Florida remains a target. Biden campaign manager Julie Chavez Rodriguez released a memo pledging to protect recent Democratic gains in states like Arizona and Georgia and look to expand the map even further to states like North Carolina and Florida. So, yes, that's what's happening there. He has passed this week. This is what's happening. HB 1521 is a bathroom ban for anyone who enters a bathroom that is not their gender or sexual, they're at birth. Effective July 1st, 2023. HB 1069, the Don't Say Gay expansion. Remember, it was only supposed to be through K through 3rd grade. Expansion is seniors in high school on down, effective July 1st. the SB 524, which is trans youth ban, and an 80% adult trans care ban, effective immediately. And in that ban right there means that the state of Florida can come kidnap your kids if you are providing them with care. It can take them away. It can, if you are divorced, you live here and your ex-partner lives somewhere else, the ex-partner can call the state of Florida and say, my kids are getting transgender care there, and they will give that person custody. However, if it's the other way around, and here you don't want to give it to them and somewhere else they do, our state will help kidnap them to bring them here. So that won't happen. This is literally in the legislation. And SB 1438 is an obscenity law targeting drag, effective immediately. And that's just some I could go into. If you go to the Tallahassee, Tallahassee Democrat, which is a wonderful site, it's free. And you can read literally point by point by point what all of these are going to do, what's in the legislation, and it's in layman's terms. It's not legalese. It's for people to read and understand what is happening. And that is my update on fascist Ron DeSantis. It rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Florida's. I asked you what yesterday. Are you moving to Ohio yet? I mean, it's not much better, but it's better.
I don't think so. You have more book bans than we do.
What? Come on. God damn it.
Yeah.
And we have a lot less ocean too.
Yeah. Oh, we have a new law in Florida that any citizen in Florida, as long as they are not a committed felon and could get a gun previously,
Yeah, can just open.
Need to get a permit, a license, anything, and you can conceal carry. You can carry it. You can conceal it. Anyone can have a gun and carry it around.
You don't even need training.
No, you need nothing now. Before you would have to go fill out a paperwork, wait that for the, whatever. Here it was 24 hours a while ago. Now it's nothing. America, fuck yeah! I saw you, Brantley.
Yeah, so.
Yes. Hi, Dad. Oh, right. I know. Yikes, right?
You know what? I gotta point this out. Brantley, we love you, and I am sorry because it has gotten to the point in this show to where he's not joking, he's just saying how angry he is. I don't think he's ever done that before. Yeah. No, this is incredibly frustrating. This is it's incredibly disheartening. And
it would be considered child abuse if a doctor says a child needs any type of care,
gender affirming care,
whether it's just counseling, whether it's hormone blockers or hormones, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about surgery. That's not for children. We're talking about children. Counseling, gender affirming counseling can get the state of Florida to come kidnap and take possession of your children. If a trans parent has children and someone finds out, they can come take your children away from you because you are doing child abuse.
Effective immediately. So I would like everyone to make a quick note, real quick. We've watched it together on this channel, but if you haven't seen it in a while, watch V for Vendetta.
Yeah, it's good.
It is the state of Florida. The dark times that they're referencing is incredibly similar to what's happening now in Florida. I like to believe Telltale Atheist. Owen, what's his last name? Morgan? Owen Morgan.
Love him.
He's fantastic. If you don't know Telltale's channel, go check it out. He's been covering a lot of Christian nationalist stuff recently. He does such a good job at it. I'd love to have him on the show sometime. I don't think that would happen. He's really like trying to just do his own thing right now, and kind of not get too entangled in the community because it likes to eat itself. Atheist, bag of cats, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that said, still check out his channel. It's absolutely amazing. He's a great person. I would like to agree with him that as crazy as this shit is, and as crazy as these people are, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Greg Locke, and I forget the guy's name, Charlie Barton or something like that. He's a friend of Kent Hovind's, who kind of helps lead the Christian nationalist like movement in general. These people are nuts. They're nutter butters, as he says. And
Their children, their own children, will never have to do any of this.
no. And the thing he says over and over is just like, look, this will burn out.
Mm-hmm.
These people have spent decades organizing for moments like these in Florida and in Oklahoma, which we didn't get to talk about tonight. The governor of Oklahoma, can't talk.
Oklahoma every night, my honey lemon, I sit alone and talk and watch the hawk doing lazy circles in the sky. I've seen the musical once or
I
twice.
wasn't even ready for that. That was great. No, so the governor of Oklahoma declared with the power vested in him today all of the land of Oklahoma to Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And as interesting as that is, and as funny as that is,
hold on, just a little bit of logic, because that's what my brain's doing. If it is all powerful, all everything Lord, and does it, like, why would he need your puny little mortal meat sack to give him anything that's already theirs or his or whatever,
or hers?
Yeah, or its, or
no.
whatever.
So we will move on from this topic in a moment, but I've been wanting to ask you this all day because I've been thinking about it all day, and I'm just going to ask you on camera, even if it makes me look like a boob. All right, and not the good kind. Old timey boob.
You boob.
Yeah, boob. I'm here because I thought this was funny. I'm like, well, this is something. Now I can tell all of my friends, hey, did you hear about the Oklahoma governor committing treason and declaring all of the land in Oklahoma with the power vested in him to some guy in Palestine, a king in Palestine? Did you hear about that? And then I started to think,
not that one.
Hey, do you think we could get him for treason for that? Just saying, hey, he tried to turn over all the land in Oklahoma to this guy in Palestine. And I'm sure that lawsuit would just be like dropped. But if it was to almost go anywhere, couldn't they say, like, hey, I mean, yeah, you can't do that. Or does this guy exist? What if that has to be his way out? And I just wanted to throw that your way. Christy walked away for a moment, but she will be back. But yeah, I thought of that all day. Because, I mean, if it's not an issue of treason, which it's not, it's at least an issue with the Establishment Clause. And we will dive back into that maybe in the next couple of weeks. But there's just so many things. I will be touching base on the 10 Commandments and all Texas schools again here towards the end of the show. But for now, we're going to move on to Holy Thursday Massacre. So if you want to switch us over now, Nacha, we will move right along. Just so everyone knows, this is raspberry wine. It is basically a sweet tart. It's amazing. All right, moving on. All right, Nacha, at any point in time, if you want to add something, feel free to jump in or just correct me so only I can hear you. That's fine too. This next story is not our usual story. It's not just that. It's not necessarily politics or religion, but it is politics. And it can be connected to our worldview. I say our, as in Christy and ours, because they're very, very similar. Before I get into the story, I would like to premise it from the worldview that I hold, that I want to come at this at a specific angle, and I want to talk about it in a way that I feel like it really deserves to be talked about. So I am a humanist, right? An atheist humanist, a secular humanist, yeah. But before I came across the term humanist, because I didn't know it was a thing, I was just shooting in the dark on my journey to figure out what I was. What was it, 6 years ago now? And one of the first things that I came across after I had determined I'm an atheist, but that doesn't cover everything, is a humanitarian. Because the way that I defined humanity, and I have a video about this on my Great Skeptic channel that I made a long time ago, like at least 5 years ago. I think the video is actually called "Where's Your Humanity" or something like that. It has humanity in it, and my point that I'm slowly getting to is that I'm a humanist because I like the word humanity, as in humane.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not a human superiorist.
No.
I mean, I think we're pretty great. I am a little biased. Maybe we are the greatest species who ever lived. I don't really know. Either way. No, we're shitty in a lot of ways. I know we're smart in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But when someone speaks of, uses the phrase, "Where's your humanity?" it is making reference to the word like, why aren't you more humane? Like, where's the good in you? Like, to have humanity is to be good and extend that not just to your fellow humans, but to other species, like cats and dogs we usually think about, or your pet bird, maybe your pet snake even. To extend that goodwill as far as you can. And I wanted to give everyone that frame of reference before we jumped into the story here. So the story is what the animal rights community is referring to Holy Thursday Massacre, the Holy Thursday Massacre, and this is pretty wild. So I'm going to read straight from the U.S. Arc website here. Start here, anyways. Actually, I'm going to move this over here so I can look like I'm looking at the screen more than I'm just reading. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the FWC, law enforcement officers showed up at a reptile facility in Sunrise, Florida, and slaughtered 34 pythons and one pregnant boa constrictor. The pet boa constrictor was misidentified as a python, and according to its owner, Bill McAdam, executed via nail gun to the head.
Oh no, they had no no.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry everyone, I was listening enough, Jeff. I'm being corrected that the boa constrictor was not misidentified. They just didn't know what they were doing.
I don't think
So
they cared after they
yeah,
knew what they were doing.
right, and yeah, I mean that's if you don't give a shit, identifying has nothing to do with it. And okay, I don't want to go too far off what I was going to say. I will circle back to the FWC's
Yes.
law enforcement officers here in a moment.
Full footage is online, but it is heartbreaking, and we can link it in the chat if anybody wants to. Nacha knows exactly what it is, and this is fucking disturbing. It's wrong. Being a humanist includes other living beings. It just does.
It does. As I said, they executed these nail gun to the head by 4 FWC officers. The FWC officers also killed 29, and I don't know if I can say this word, reticulated pythons and five Burmese pythons owned by Chris Coffey under prior directive from FWC. Coffey was forced to maintain the snakes in captivity for over a year since an arbitrary deadline had passed to rehome the animals. I'll go ahead and keep reading a little bit. We'll give everyone as much context as we can. Coffey had a large collection of both reticulated and Burmese pythons. Sorry if I'm botching that. Which were possessed legally with a conditional species permit before FWC made that permit obsolete by passing prohibited species rules in 2021. Therefore, his animals should have been grandfathered in and exempt from the new regulations. Nonetheless, after the rules banning the snakes were passed, Coffey chose to rehome 120 of his pythons, but he was unable to disperse all of his collection before an arbitrary FWC deadline. In an effort to remain on good terms with the FWC, Coffey notified the FWC in good faith about a year ago that he was having difficulties rehoming his animals in the short amount of time allowed by the FWC. He asked FWC for more time, believing that he had no choice. FWC responded by raiding Coffey's facility, arresting him, and issuing him 2 charges for each python, the reticulated and Burmese python possessed, a total of 72 criminal charges. However, rather than seize the animals, FWC officers told Coffey that he had to continue to keep his snakes in captivity and that he could not rehome or euthanize them or he would be arrested again. Coffey's life has been turned upside down, and he is still on probation as a result of the charges that never should have been issued against him. Coffey's pythons were maintained at the facility of Bill McAdam with FWC's full knowledge of their whereabouts for approximately a year until the FWC's raid and subsequent massacre on Thursday, April 26, 2020, or April 6, 2023. On that date, coinciding with the observance of Passover and Holy Thursday, FWC officers Lex Cordagura, botched that name, Jonathan Wright, Zach Papel, and Christopher Ryan showed up to McAdam's facility, alleging that they had a report of an escaped reticulated python in the area. The officers said that they wanted to check and see if it was one of Coffey's snakes that had escaped. This turned out not to be the real reason for their visit. After Coffey allowed them to get into the facility, the officers began pulling snakes out of their enclosures and killing them with what Coffey described as some sort of nail gun on the floor of McAdam's facility. The device used to kill the snakes was likely a device called a penetrating captive bolt gun. The FWC officers spent around 4 hours killing snakes, firing multiple shots to heads of some of the snakes when it appeared that the first shots failed to kill them. When it was all done, they had killed 29 I have such a hard time with that word, reticulated pythons and 5 Burmese pythons. In addition to the misidentified, in quotations, boa constrictor. The reptile community is calling the event Holy Thursday Massacre. Social media posts on this horrific story have received tens of thousands of views. Yeah, and I'm seeing some of the pictures again now, and they are pretty disgusting. It looks like a massacre. It's pretty bloody. There's more here. There's actually a lot more to read.
There's so much. There's so much. Yes. Like when we bring you a topic here, we do our, to lay out, this is what happened and these are the reasons why we care. And here's some things you can do about it, which Nacha, aka LEAH Podcast, just gave you the information, the link that you can go. Even if you can't donate, you can go on and learn and be able to share that when someone says, what do you mean it was this? Or I've never heard of it. Enlighten them. If it was dogs, everyone would care. If it was children, people would be in the streets. Just because it's
everyone would care, but remember that story a few years back when the guy was eating dogs in Florida?
Yes.
Everything happened in Florida.
He didn't in a matter of just hours go and massacre, hundreds of dogs with a nail gun to their head. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, maybe I'm silly. I've had pet snakes. I've had friends who have had pet snakes. They might not be aware of the conversation you're having with them. That's obvious. But they understand the feeling of their mates losing their life, of danger coming to them. They smell blood. They know what blood is. Yes, they messed everything up in such a bad way. The nail gun was used wrong. They broke it because they were using it wrong. They didn't complete their own procedures, inhumanely euthanizing them. They were causing stress and being cruel. And if you're going to euthanize, the whole point, my sweet Delilah, who I lost last year, is to do it in a way that they don't feel that they're with somebody at the end. And snakes do have their favorite people and their others that they don't know. It's just, and Naja said he could go on. There are questions being put to court about even if they were legally meant to be there. Fish and wildlife have no authority over domestic animals, which is true.
Maybe
And Naja
unconstitutional.
a big point on that. Fish and wildlife have no authority over domestic animals. However, he did want to give you a caveat. Do not go after them because you want them demolished or to lose funding. They do phenomenal work and all the things that they're supposed to be. Their jurisdiction does not cover this.
Right.
So, and anyone who would be like, this isn't our job, we're not covered to do this, but I'll go massacre a shitload of living animals. Something's wrong with that person and everyone else who was in on it. There needs to be such a huge investigation, and unfortunately, because it's reptiles, they'll never get that due diligence unless people take this up themselves and start making such a big fuss that they do not have a choice.
Right. The best way that you can get involved is if you live in Florida, you can contact the governor, right? State legislator. If you don't, you can contact your own state legislator. If you are more abroad, or if you live in Florida or in the US, you can find local news programs who have covered this and comment. Because the more comments they get, the more traffic they see, the more they'll want to check it out again.
Yes, ratio those videos. And like you said, if you're out of state, out of country, and this is like not something you can do or vote or volunteer or be a part of, give them $1. That is, the information is in our description. Nacha's very passionate about this. I am an animal lover. Mac is an animal lover. This has broke people's hearts that this could happen. There are questions being put to court about even if they were legally meant to be there. The officers on the ground didn't want to be there. They knew they were killing pets. They didn't want to be there and didn't know what to do because it wasn't their area of expertise. This was a shit show from top to bottom, from bottom to top. It was botched. It was botched. And it was disgusting. Cruelty to animals is never okay. This is a massacre.
I wanted to quickly read some of the mission statement from the myfwc.com.
Okay.
So that would be relevant. I went to their official website and went to the About Us. Found their mission statement. It says, mission statement, protecting Florida's natural resources and people through proactive and responsive law enforcement services. Vision, to be recognized as the leading conservation law enforcement agency in the nation. Set apart by strategic vision, clear missions, strong leadership, and a professional officer corps. Motto, patrol, protect, preserve. Patrol, protect, preserve. There's no preservation in a massacre. This really does suck. If you guys can get any more eyeballs on this topic, including here, we're covering this. The more comments, the better. And if you guys are big animal lovers and snake lovers, and you really want to make a difference in this, find the other snake lovers that are in your communities, add them to a group chat on Facebook or Twitter and be like, hey guys, these people covered it. Here's the link. Go there, watch the video, comment. Go there, watch the video, comment. Go there, watch the video, comment. That's a good way to get some eyeballs. I mean, if you guys can get a group of at least 25 people together, right? That is some attention, and hopefully it grows from there. That's my best advice currently on how to make people care about this.
Yes.
This topic.
And also, our wonderful, very own, although we will share, Lord and Savior, if Sacha would like to add anything, I know it's going to be pertinent, any middle words, context words, last words, anything that you feel would be, an advantage a bonus for people to hear and understand. Okay. For now. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Just wanted to give you a chance. I know that you are definitely not just more passionate, but more knowledgeable on this. You took it to heart. Your heart was broken, as anyone who loves other just living things. I mean, I get heartbroken when one of my plants doesn't make it through a freeze. I'm like, well, I failed you. But this is a living, breathing, an animal. Unfortunately, like I said, there are so many people who see a snake in their grass and they stick a shovel through it. They just don't want it in their grass, not realizing all the things it's doing for your property. Depending on what snake it is, I might take it and like throw it over a fence into some wildlife, but I'm not head off unless it's a rattlesnake. And even then, I don't live in a place where I'm going to find that. So if I did, I probably is in their kind of, situation and should remove myself. So having respect for all living beings is definitely a tenet of the humanism I practice. And not just because it's a tenement, because that's who I am before I ever left religion, before I ever let myself not have magical thinking anymore. And it has never left. I don't think it will. I can't see an animal that needs me and know that I can do something to help it and walk away. That's never going to happen. I will bring a blanket and go lay by an animal that I've never met, a stray, if they're dying, and be with them. If they're having whatever it might be, like, okay, Stacy, you need to wake up. I guess we're taking this animal we don't know to Humane Society to drop them off because someone has to help them. That is a part of, like, a very unbudging part of who I am. And I love that we have so many other animal lovers, respecters, and admirers, because how could you not? Animals are innocent, which is definitely one of my favorite jams. I will share in a chat, just to make everyone laugh, because this is a really hard night tonight, a lovely song sent to me by Smitty. And it has to do with, inquiring things like, what is in your butthole?
I wish you would save that until I had my last bit on the topic.
Well, they won't go to it until after. So
bring it back up. So I did want to add a different, not a different, just like an added viewpoint of this topic. Because when I was reading it, it made me kind of like, I was thinking about my own position on pets in general, because I love animals, and I have a bunch of kids that also love animals and want
hyperbolic. Like the definition of bunch, that's him.
Bunch, yeah. And whenever they find a turtle or a frog or a squirrel, they want to catch it and they want to keep it.
Well, yeah.
Right? and we have I have a pretty good catch and release policy at our house. One, we don't need any more pets. Two, I mean, we have two cats, and they're indoor cats. We like one's geriatric, the other one is three-legged. They're
Aw,
not really cats that can just go outside.
special animals are amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, apart from that, I'm not saying, because I'm not authoritarian enough to say no one should have pets, but I am like kind of that sense of just like, why do we own animals? Right? Like, I feel like there is a moral problem with it. I like the idea of living in harmony with other species, being helpful. But if you want to get a pet, you really got to think, do I have the time to spend on this creature? Because once you decide to lock a creature in a box, which is your house, and not spend time with it, I feel like that's like akin to torture, right? Like you really need, like, everything needs some kind of community or freedom or both.
It's cruel.
It is cruel, and it makes me feel bad that like I've had a lot of like caged small animals, and I've had a couple dogs, a couple cats, and like, I mean, it just makes me really think that like when you have a pet, you really need to care for it, not just for you, because people usually get pets because it helps them, or it's either a want or need for you, the human. But we don't worry enough about the animal, and I'm not saying everyone's like that, right? And I'm not saying that some pet owners, people who own other living things, don't treat their pets well most of the time, or even if the pets like their living conditions. I just think that they're like, we kind of have our priorities and our morals a little bit mixed up when it comes to just the idea of pets. And I wanted to throw that out there. But along with it, that the devil's advocate, and kind of jumbling things up, is FWC. Any kind of like wildlife preservation or authority at all. It's not that I don't think that there shouldn't be any such kind of authority on wildlife. But even with that philosophy that I just gave you, that I'm leaning towards and have been for the last couple of years now, I don't think this is acceptable by a long shot. I don't even think it's acceptable to just, even though I don't like the idea of people just owning pets, especially ones that could just live out in the wild, right? In their own habitats. When a living thing gets used to living in a place, it gets a lot of anxiety from being taken out of its new habitat, right? Even if it's not good for them in the first place, it is traumatizing to leave your habitat, natural or otherwise. There's not a great way to fix the problem. So, I mean, I don't really have a moral to the story of like what's the best way.
I do have a statistic, kind of where you're going right now about
please.
More dogs and cats and bunnies and guinea pigs were adopted and bought during the pandemic because people were at home.
Yeah.
Out of the 100% of all of those, a good 52% have been brought back to the pet stores, the Humane Society, once things picked back up, or things got so expensive towards the end of that pandemic that they were like, listen, I got to feed myself and my kids, and like there's just not enough left over. Or medical bills accrued because something happened and they said, I really can't afford this. I will say, out of those 52% being brought back out of the whole 100, there are many more who were also surrendered to kill shelters. I think it's another 12 to 14% kill shelters, or just let go, taken out to the woods and just let go.
Yeah. And that's just,
you do
that's
not
not
ever
okay.
get another animal.
Right. I mean, the kill shelters and just let go, those are absolutely not acceptable. It's not great that they're given back up, again, to leave the habitat that they've been introduced to.
I prefer surrender than
Absolutely.
letting them go. If an animal is healthy and just you can't take care of it anymore, that is not a reason to extinguish its life. It just isn't.
Yeah, no. I think it is, it's like a 50-50 responsible. It's like, okay, well, I got this pet, but now I realize I can't take care of it. I need to take it to the Humane Society, or see if I can take it back to the specialist, because like, I'm glad you realize you aren't giving it enough attention, or you can't feed it, so I need to give it to someone who does. It is responsible, but the irresponsibility comes from the initial thought of, I can get a pet whenever I want. Right? Like, it's just, we take that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
I want a raccoon, and I want a chipmunk, and I want a parrot.
I want a raccoon at least once in this lifetime, and or a skunk. I really want a raccoon and a small dog that just grow together and play together. They have hands.
Yes, I know. They're so cute. I've watched a lot of raccoon.
So cute. Yes, we have a whole family of them here.
And if you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Huh? I am Groot.
I am Groot. And Rocket Raccoon
has
a baby raccoon. Have you seen it yet?
Okay, nope, no spoilers. No spoilers. We were just told no
you're
spoilers.
gonna see a baby rocket and you're gonna die. But no spoilers. Yeah. Go see it. It's amazing. I saw it twice. I took the kids to see it after Rachel and I saw it. Love it. If you what?
Smitty said do not get a raccoon. However, not only do I know people in real life that rescued a baby raccoon and ended up, keeping it for life.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing circumstances, every single one of them. My mom were able to do the baby raccoon, and also a skunk, if you get it, deglammed. They are so sweet. They use a litter. They're awesome. There's just a lot. I would never take one from the wild, and I would never buy one. It would be hey, this happened. We need someone to foster it, take care of it, and then it would be mine forever.
Yeah.
But not right now. We have an entire petting zoo.
Yeah.
Yes, my mom said the skunk was one of the best pets they've ever had.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just loving, so loving. I think of Pepe Le Pew. Let me love.
Love me. Yeah. But I mean, again, pets are great. Christy was not wrong when she said, I am an animal lover. I am allergic to cats, so the cats that we have here, I'm usually a little bit of an ass to. I'm like, I don't want you to cuddle me, so I have to be a little bit rude to you. Like, damn it. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, no, don't. Get off. Get off. I don't want to get at you. I like you. I do. Every time I pet you, I have to go wash my hands, though.
I love cats. I also want a Sphinx, at least before I leave this planet. I want a baby Sphinx all the way to I just they're so cute.
So go for cuteness. This was a super sad story. I'm
Yes,
glad
it was.
that Nacha asked us to cover it. We were happy to.
I had already read a couple things and thought, this is horrible. And then this is my state, and nothing's going to be done about it here. It's just people
Well,
are allowed in this state to have backyard zoos, cages the size of this desk with a panther in it, alligators. Like it's just insane. And I'm not saying that there aren't people who would be responsible for rehabbing and giving these animals places to be until they can be released to the wild. But I'm talking about people who buy them to keep them in cages their whole life so that they can have exotic animals. And it turns my stomach. I think that it should be completely illegal. Yes, there are other permits that they need to have. There's more red tape that they have to go to. They have to update their license throughout. But they can also charge people to come in and see their petting zoo of alligators and panthers, and it's just it's not okay with me.
yeah.
All
No.
right. Yes. Any
Final
animal
topic.
abuse story is really bad. Yes. Next topic, please, our Lord. Who's Lord? Nacho. Nacho Lord.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Boom.
So we have already covered this a few weeks ago, but I'm glad we are revisiting it. It's my choice too. So the Ten Commandments and the Texas schools. As far as I know, and I'm gonna double check here real quick, so I am sure. But this hasn't passed. It is still sitting in purgatory. I don't know the correct word. This bill hasn't passed yet. Texas SB, I think it's SB 15 if I remember right.
Yes, if you guys want to watch actual footage from the hearing when they're talking to citizens and residents, Arn Ra, go to Arn Ra's channel. He's been there. You want more? Go to Andrew Seidel from FFRF. You want more? Type in FFRF, the website, and go read, because they are on this. There are many others, but if you start there, you'll get many of them. And Arn Ra has not been afraid to show up to school boards all over Texas. Arn, yes.
Oh, it's 1515. I was close. I said it was Senate Bill 15. It's 1515. Would require Texas public schools to display the Ten Commandments. Austin, Texas. Public schools in Texas would have to prominently display the Ten Commandments in every classroom, not just every school, every single classroom, starting next school year under a bill the Texas Senate approved on Thursday, and that was on April 23rd, 2023. And is the Texas bill to put the 10 Commandments in school. As far as I know, this is still on pause. Arn Rod did go there to speak against the bill. I listened to the full hour and 20 minutes on his channel of just everyone who's for and against the bill. It is definitely worth listening to. There were a lot of good arguments made.
Yeah, I love the comment. I just don't understand how a rainbow in a classroom is indoctrination, but the Ten Commandments isn't.
Right.
And I'm not here to talk about. That's not why I'm here.
Yeah, so many. Why can't we have the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution? That's not my bill. This is my bill. This is the bill I am carrying. When she was questioned, I can't remember her name now. I want to say Kathy. I want to say Kathy Bates. That's not it.
Fascist granny.
Fascist granny.
Christo, fascist granny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is definitely pushing the Christian white nationalists. Our only breed, or our exact strain of Christianity is the only.
Ignore that.
No, I will not.
That was a Burger King commercial. Just popped up on.
Hey, listen, it's the home of the Whopper, and everyone can appreciate that.
It's true. As long as I don't hire kids. I'm not seeing
For the animals.
who is carrying the bill.
Oh, I'm such a sissy.
I need to find this real quick. This is important. I want to know. Like kidding.
All right, I will entertain. Ugh, that's really gross. I don't know how anybody says I just really enjoy the taste of insert alcohol.
Okay, well, hey, I have the bill analysis that was let's see, the Center Research Center filed 4/3 of 23. Author's sponsor statement of intent. SB 1515 would require Texas public school and secondary schools to display the 10 Commandments in each classroom. At present, Texas public schools have no such requirement, and this legislation only became legally feasible with the United States Supreme Court opinion last year and Kennedy v. Bremerton School District. This 142 SCT 24 yada yada numbers, which overturned the Lemon Test under the Establishment Clause, and instead provided a test of whether a government display of religious content comports with America's history and tradition. Stone v. Graham in 1980 had held that the Lemon Test prohibited public schools' display of the 10 Commandments. But with the end of Lemon, with Stone v. Graham, that is no longer applicable. Many public schools prior to Stone v. Graham did display the 10 Commandments as a part of America's history and tradition. See American Legion versus American Humanist Association, 2019. Noting that the Fraternal Order of the Eagles used to distribute copies of the 10 Commandments to school groups. Religious liberty was a bedrock of America's founding. For the last several decades, expression of that liberty has been restricted. However, thanks to this recent SCOTUS opinion, those restrictions have been lifted. SB 1515 restores those liberties that were lost and reminds students all across Texas of the importance of a fundamental foundation of American and Texas law. That's a funny character. Law with the 10 Commandments. And there's like an upside down question mark with the half symbol before that. As proposed, Senate Bill 1515 amends the current law relating to the display of 10 Commandments in public schools. Rulemaking authority. This bill does not expressively grant any additional rulemaking authority to a state officer, institution, or agency. And then, oh yeah, ooh. Here's where it gets interesting. Display of the 10 Commandments requires a public elementary or secondary school to display a I can't talk again. Conspicuous, in a conspicuous place in each classroom of the school, in a durable poster or framed copy of the 10 Commandments that meets the requirements of subsection B. Let me turn my screen so you guys can see my face. I apologize. Leaning off camera. And subsection B requires that the poster is framed. No, that a poster or framed copy of the Ten Commandments described by subsection A. One, include the text of the Ten Commandments as provided by subsection. Oh, a lot of jargon. In a size and typeface that is legible to a person with average vision from anywhere in the classroom in which the poster or framed copy is displayed. And it will be at least 16 inches wide and 20 inches tall. So basically, they're just going to go through how big it has to be, and they have to accept any privately donated poster or framed copy, and so on and so forth. And it's some bullshit. Let me tell you. Okay, so now that you know what it is, and also that you know that I think it's bullshit, because I let that slip. Oops, sorry, bias. Why is this bullshit? One, because it is in strict opposition to the Establishment Clause. This is absolutely against separation of church and state. And for your conservative friends who say that the separation of church and state, is not in the Constitution, because it's not. It's just in spirit there, strong spirit. How strong? Well, the author of the Establishment Clause, Thomas Jefferson, or it might have been James Madison who actually wrote it, but Thomas Jefferson was the one who made sure this was in there. He was the one who was leading the front of separation of church and state. You can see in his letters to the Danbury Baptist Association in Connecticut, way back in 1802.
Yeah.
This Baptist church was having an issue with the Calvinists in the area, and the local government kind of allowing them to kind of force themselves on the community. And the Baptist church didn't like that. So they wrote Thomas Jefferson and said, hey, does this go against the First Amendment, the Establishment Clause? And because they're infringing on our rights, we're feeling attacked by the Calvinists, that we don't get religious freedom because our government is kind of sponsoring this other Christian church. Mm-hmm. And Thomas Jefferson's response, in a nutshell, was absolutely, this is why we put the Establishment Clause in there. Mm-hmm. It is for the separation of church and state. That way, let me read the Establishment Clause. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging freedom of speech or of press, ... You can't choose, as a government, you can't choose one over another. This is why the Freedom from Religion Foundation honestly has the best motto. You can't have freedom of religion without freedom from religion. Mm-hmm. You just can't. It is a logical fallacy to think otherwise, honestly, because otherwise we get...
the framers knew that.
Yeah, and they knew that, especially Thomas Jefferson.
All of them knew that the Church of England,
yeah,
and other nations that had their own church that separation was going to be the only way of not having persecution, to having entirely secular government with a populace who could practice whatever religion they wanted.
Right.
Or
only John Adams really didn't
Thomas
want Thomas what?
Thomas Paine, the only best founding father, my favorite, the only one that counts.
Yeah. But John Adams didn't want the separation of church and state in there. Is what I was gonna say. So he was on the opposite end, but he was pretty much the only one.
He also
has
writings that contradict that.
He what?
He has writings that contradict that.
Oh, probably. They always do.
No, a lot. And he wanted his particular choice and flavor to be,
Yeah.
and then why leave England? Because it's the same.
Right. So for those of you who need this explained, and I actually said this to my mom the other day.
Whoa.
And she really took it like and agreed with it. Like it made a lot of sense to her, and she's pretty fundamentalist. That said, if you just open yourself up to other worldviews a little bit, you'll see very quickly. And I said it like this. I'll tell you the way that I said it is that you can't have freedom of religion without freedom from religion, because otherwise you end up getting a religion with supremacy.
Yep.
And I saw her head go,
yeah,
concordance.
Yeah.
Got
the way
it.
People who believe that there shouldn't be a separation, they think that their God should be in charge, is to say, okay, what if we, as a democracy, elected a Hindu?
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
if as a democracy elected
Or Catholic.
A Catholic, or
or
a Muslim,
non-Catholic.
yeah, it could go on, or a Buddhist or an atheist. Or would you like them to say that everyone has to follow what that is? No, we need a complete separation.
Yeah. No, there's the no true Christian, no true Scotsman fallacy, right? And I mean, if you just kind of point that out, you will make someone think. You might not get them to agree with you in the moment, but I mean, pretty much no two Christians that you ever talk to are going to have the same view on the Bible or on Jesus, right? And it bears reminding people that, because no one wants someone else to be in charge of someone's own personal religion.
Gup quotes James Madison, and it is beautiful. It says, the purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe in blood for centuries, because all of them are fought over whose magical sky daddy is the best. And no soldier, except for logical, when they say there's no atheists in foxholes, that's, well, I'm not talking about that. Overall, over the past centuries in history, there have been no soldiers that have gone into battle, hand-to-hand battle on a field, who didn't think their particular God was on their side, that they were doing this to bring glory to their God. But if an all-powerful magical being that could create the entire string theory, multi-universe, everything, why would he need you to kill his other creations who believe something different? And what if their different is the one? Or none of that logic was back then, but it just, I can't unlearn that stuff. I cannot unthink that stuff. And I will be one of the first people to go out in a march with people who say, we're not allowed to be Baptist anymore. We're not allowed to be this anymore. That's ridiculous. But that doesn't mean that I believe any of it. And I need you to show up for those same kind of protests, for when they say I have to believe some sort. I have to say, let's see, which magical beliefs do I want so I don't die? Like,
right.
I need that march for me as well.
This is something that I didn't understand for a little while after becoming an atheist, right? Because you know what? Honestly, I'm just gonna say it real, hopefully offensively. I hope this pisses some people off. No one here, but when I was a Christian, I was really fucking dumb. I didn't understand what it meant to fight for other people's rights. I was very narrow-minded. And I think most Christians are in this aspect. And if it ticks you off, good, change it. It didn't hit me until Shannon Q was talking to Max Colby, I believe it was. This was a while ago. This was half a decade ago. And their argument, because Max Colby thinks, I'm sure he still thinks, that atheists should just pretty much just get the fuck out of the country, right? He would tell his son and then share the recording online to trigger all the atheists and just show how terrible of a father he is. Just like, you can never trust an atheist. What do you do if one's near you? But, you know, like, basically just kind of like prepping him for like maybe violence against atheists. Good fatherhood, good father figure there. Point is, he's the kind of person who wants legislation against atheists, who wants to treat atheists as second-class citizens. It's never just the atheists, guys, right? I mean, again, the Baptist Church was having an issue with the Calvinists. Here's my point. I didn't get it.
No,
I didn't get it.
The Calvinists have been extra wrong, even when I believed. I was like, woo, you're real crazy.
Yeah. Well, hold on, let me get this this little point out real quick. The point of when Shannon said, like, what's wrong with you? Right? I would march for your rights to practice. And I think your beliefs are fucking crazy. Right? But I would fight for your right to practice your beliefs the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I am pretty sure I had never considered that as a position of someone else's beliefs. And I've been an atheist for at least a year at this point in time. And I had been a Christian for 28 years before that. And I never considered that. So let me fix my camera. It's unnerving that the ones who are supposed to be shepherds of the flock, don't give a fuck about 3/4 of the flock.
Right.
And want to control, still, even though they don't care about 3/4 of the flock, they want to control 100% of the flock. And they don't, I mean, I guess it kind of ends there. They just want the control. They don't care about rights as much as they do control. Right. And it's not every Christian, right? But it's the ones who are seeking power with Christianity. And that's why we need to exercise the freedom from religion.
Yes, we
separation of church and state. And Texas is just a yeah.
Between church and state.
Yeah.
I do have an gut straight here, like a Cupid's arrow. Quote, all national institution of church whether Jewish, Christian, or Turkish, appear to me no other than human inventions, set up to terrify and enslave mankind and monopolize power and profit. Thomas Paine.
Oh, yes, he's so
So
good.
when they say you can't judge, back then with the slavery and it was different, that bullshit. Thomas Paine believed that women should have the same rights, that slavery should be gone, that education should be free. No, just because there were a huge majority getting away with these atrocities, it was profitable. And yes, there's always been ignorance. There are preachers today saying we should line up all LGBTQ plus IA human beings and use a firing squad and shoot them dead. There are always going to be these basket cases. However, when they say you can't judge it because the time was different, the time was different. However, there were still men and women, not just the guys who could vote, who are white and educated and own land, not just them, but some and many of them said, hell no, my sister is as smart, if not smarter than me. My wife, I believe she is an equal to me. There were so many voices like that then, including Thomas Paine. And if you do not know about Thomas Paine, please go to YouTube, Audible, and put on anything where you can just listen and like lay down and listen, go for a ride and listen. You will be blown away that at the founding of this nation, there was this amazing voice to speak for the masses. And he went back and forth to many different countries to help bring this kind of democracy and freedom, including the French Revolution.
Yeah, and not only just to help people, but because he pissed so many people off. I mean, there were only a small handful of people at his funeral because he pissed so many people off because he just spoke his mind.
I love him. Think about, read, if not want to read, put on Common Sense. You'll find it free. It's like 2 hours of an audiobook. And then think while you're listening to this that it pertains to today, because there's no way you won't be able to. And then think, no, motherfucker, this was 200 plus 200 to 200. This was so far ago that when they say we can't compare them, they were different. No, this person was there. Common Sense swept through the nation of so many nations, and it was from a people's perspective that brought on democracy. Yes.
Per capita, more people read Common Sense than watched the Super Bowl.
Yes. 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 And
I used to help teach like a civil rights class a little bit that was based on Thomas Paine.
Yes, on his Common Sense. And because a lot of people were illiterate, they would hold these, whether it was at the bar or the tavern or the church or the park, where people who were literate would come out and read these to people, and people would cry. It's just as paramount today, and that's not his only magnificently, phenomenally life-changing democracy bringing equality, dreaming of ideas or books or poems like Thomas Paine. There are no others.
Yeah.
I can't sit anymore.
Well, that's okay, because we are actually done, Christy. We did it. We killed it. Another Friday.
And we had a lot tonight. You guys rock. Thank you, Gup. That is historical relativism can bugger off, right? Because at the same time, we can go back further. We can go back so much further to Socrates. We can go back to Kant. We can go to Einstein. Okay, take away the atomic bomb. We
can't do that tonight.
No, I'm just saying this.
No, I said we can't.
Have always been there. They've always been there. They just weren't the I won't say millionaire, billionaire, because that's not a thing back then. However, those people with the most money, I mean, think about what you have to do to have that money. people like Elon Musk, they have to fuck over so many people and just say, like, I don't care that you guys won't have a job anymore, because my bottom line, that's the type of person, and that's not Thomas Paine, and that's not most people. So I will never be that. And you know, that's why people like Thomas Paine, when they the printing press made a really big, you know, it changed the world, and he took advantage of that. I implore you all to check out, if you don't know, I'm sure everyone here knows Thomas Paine, but if you can't find any that is worthy of listening to, hit me up. I will send you, I have a list. So
Yeah. Final words on all of that is just, if Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk would just fuck over people in the sense that Max Bialystock did. Comment if you get the reference.
yeah.
Then I'd be okay with it. Little old ladies need screwed too. All right. Well, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We'll see you in another fortnight. Stay humanist.
For
For Godless sake.
I love you guys.